you're thinking about coming out to your parents, there are a lot of things to consider. There are two very important things to consider that are, is this a good idea and is this the right time? If your parents have ever been physically abusive toward you or violent toward other people, if they often say things that are anti-gay or homophobic, if they've ever threatened to hurt you, if they ever find out you're gay, it may be best not to tell them. Don't come out to your parents unless you're sure that you're going to be better off doing so. Sometimes you just need to postpone telling them. If you're under 18, if you're physically and or financially dependent on your parents, you may want to wait until you're at least 18, until you're out of their house, or until you're no longer financially dependent upon them, because they could react by throwing you out of the house or cutting off the money for your education. If you've decided that you're not in financial or physical danger by telling your parents, but you have some concerns about how they might take it and how do you respond to the things that they're going to say to you, I hope that I can help you with that now. When you come out to your family, you want to make sure that you're at a good place in your life, that you're feeling really emotionally stable and secure. If you're undergoing periods of guilt or depression, if you've just broken up with someone, if you're feeling kind of fragile, that is not a good time to come out to your parents. Coming out to your parents is an emotional thing. It can be really exhausting. And so it's better to wait until you're feeling really positive about yourself, because some of the things that your parents say may come across as very hurtful to you. And so you want to make sure that you're in a good place and that you're ready to handle that. Don't come out to your parents if you're not able to respond confidently to the question, are you sure you're gay? Because they're probably going to ask that. Confusion on your part is only going to confuse them and make them feel less confident in the things that you're saying to them. Before you talk to your parents, it's a good idea to line up a support group or at least a support person. This can be a really emotional time, and it can be good to do some role plays with someone or just to talk about your concerns with them. Maybe you have friends who have come out to their parents and you can talk with them about what they went through. And then afterwards, if your parents didn't take it as well as you had hoped that they would, it's nice to have a support team behind you that you can debrief with. If your parents are particularly religiously conservative, you need to be prepared for the "you're going to go to hell" conversation. Your parents genuinely have been taught these things and they believe them, and so you're not going to make a lot of headway in this conversation the first time you have it. But do some research. I'm going to give you some resources later where you can do some reading and find out how to address this part of the coming out process with your parents. It's important to have some answers to some of the main things that they're going to say to you. They may not agree or even understand your answers to them the first time, but at least they'll be able to know that you've given the matter some thought and you're going to know how to respond to them in future conversations. Arm yourself ahead of time with answers to everything you think your parents might say to you. You know your parents better than anyone else knows them. And so if you are prepared for all of the things that you think they might say to you, and then some, you're going to have a lot more confidence going into this conversation. There is a huge amount of resource material available to you online, and I'm going to tell you about some of it. There's not anything that your parents can say to you or ask you that has not already been covered in these online brochures and blogs. So you're going to have a lot of good resources to help back you up. What kinds of reactions might you expect from your parents? Sometimes parents aren't surprised. They may have suspected all along. Some parents are way more accepting than you may have ever dreamed they would be. Other parents have a harder time with it. Some parents may react in ways that are hurtful to you. They may cry, they may get angry, they may feel embarrassed, they may think that they're to blame in some way for this thing that they think has happened to you. Some parents are going to need time to grieve. for the dreams that they had for you and for the life and the future that they had for you. And so it's important to let them have that time. You came out to yourself a long time ago, and you're farther along in the acceptance process than they are. It probably wasn't easy for you at first. And so remember how long it took you to deal with all of the emotions and all of the questions that you had. Okay, this is fresh for your parents. They're used to thinking of you in a certain way. They've been thinking of you in this way for X number of years, and now all of a sudden something important has changed. This doesn't mean that they're not ever going to be able to accept you. So please don't make the mistake of thinking that the first way they react to you is the way that they're always going to react to you. Give your parents time. If they do have a negative reaction, just remember it may not always be this way. In the long run, most parents want their children to be happy and loved above all other things. So I told you about some of the resources that are available. I'm going to give you some web addresses now. The first for you would be www.hrc.org. This is the Human Rights Campaign. They have a ton of stuff on their website, a lot of brochures and videos that deal with all kinds of issues that are going to be important to you. And they cover things like coming out, religion, the workplace, just about anything you could imagine. An important resource for your family and friends would be www.community.pflag.org. This is the national website for parents and friends of lesbians and gays. Now, since this organization organized, they have broadened their scope. So this group is now the largest family and ally support organization for the LGBTQ individuals and people who love them. On our campus, we have a new student organization that can be very helpful for you. It's called Pride Alliance. Okay, and there are several different ways you can contact them or get information about them. Okay, for their email address is tamucc.pride.alliance@gmail.com. You can access them on Facebook at facebook.com/groups/ this is all one word, TAMU-CC Pride Alliance. On Twitter at twitter.com/TAMUCC_pride. I hope that you found some of the things I talked about helpful to you. We'd love for you to come by the Counseling Center if you have further questions, if you want to talk more in depth with our counselors, if you would like to have more resources. We'd love to help you. Thank you.